September 23rd, 2013 meeting of the Charter Commission. As usual, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we really only have three things on our agenda tonight. We're going to go over the preliminary report, the draft of the charter, and then approve the minutes. Thank you, Ellen, for getting them out. We have Attorney Radigan here for about an hour, so I would propose that we postpone the minutes until after he leaves and get right into the meat of the report and the charter. Now, how would you like to proceed, everyone? Should we just start and go through it in order, or should we start with the more complicated section 4? I asked Attorney Radigan the questions that the Charter Commission asked me to ask with respect to resolutions and ordinances. What was the other question? Let's talk about the voting first. How do we have to present this to the citizens? Do we have to do one vote? Can we kind of rack the changes together by topic, or we're concerned, I'll tell you just to give you context, there was some concern that if we try and present some issues that might give people heartburn, we might lose the whole revised charter. So our question was, is it one vote or can we do multiple votes? And if so, how do we break them up?
I think you have to do multiple votes because you're not really doing a revision. You're doing amendments because you're not changing the form of government. You're really just clarifying some points, little changes maybe with the treasurer. So I would imagine it would be by subject matter. You'd have, the Section 4 amendments, you'd have the treasurer amendment, and you'd present them in a series of amendments.
Okay.
Kind of much like zoning amendments.
Okay.
Where people are going to see a summary probably on the ballot, and not all the textual changes, although the textual changes will all be available at the polling place.
So on the ballot, the warrant, they're going to all be by separate sections.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And you can
Yeah,
vote each one at a time.
Yeah, the way that if you go to 49B, I think it's B2 talks about B2. An amendment means the enactment or repeal of a single section or subsection of a charter pertaining to any one subject matter, and any relating section, the meaning or operation of which is changed as a result of the enactment or repeal. So basically, if you think about what's the biggest subject matter, it's clarification regarding the town administrator's positions and duties. And so that's going to touch a whole bunch of things, and you'll have a summary that'll explain that. And so, revision means multiple changes in the basic form of government proposed by several enactments or repeals. You're not changing the form of government. So, It's amendments.
So on a more like almost a procedural or practical scale, will we be able to propose the warrants, or is that something that the council will do once they receive our document?
I think it calls for you to do that, because if you look at, I think it's procedure, who's the municipal office? Let's see. Municipal officers, all right, would be the council. So if you go to RSA 49B4, within the commission, within Roman numeral 5, within 231 days after the election, the Charter Commission shall submit its final report, which shall include the full text and explanation of the proposed new charter or charter revision. Such comments as the commission shall deem desirable as indicated, blah, blah, blah. Minority reports. Upon the filing of the final report, the municipal officers shall order, as determined by the Charter Commission, the proposed new charter or charter revision to be submitted to the voters at the next primary or general municipal election. So I think what you would do is you would prepare then it says charter amendments procedure. but you're doing it off of, so I think what you'll end up doing is that you'll present, the amendments, the revised charter, which will be issued in your, it's going to be issued attached to your preliminary report, and later it will be issued attached to your final report, incorporating any suggestions from the Secretary of State's office or the Attorney General's office. And I would imagine what you'll do is you'll pass this on to the council with amendment warrant articles broken out just the same way the planning board would do zoning amendments.
Okay.
And it doesn't have the same language that the zoning ordinance enabling action says, where, that it says that at least with petition amendments, that the planning board can make such changes in the text as they seem fit to make it make sense. But I really think that's where you're going to be. And I don't imagine that the council would have any changes unless they thought that, unless they thought that, somehow there was some aspect of the Attorney General's opinion and the Secretary of State's opinion that they wanted to challenge, because there is a provision in there that allows the municipal government, if they differ as to whether or not the Attorney General or the Secretary of State is right on an issue, to challenge that. So I would imagine what's going to happen is what you present is they have to put on, and they will.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, the question is how much is going to be in the warrant, if it's, like warrant articles?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like, Leo, it's going to be like a zoning amendment, where you, for instance, if, let's take section 1.2. If you were going to change the language to 1.2 the way it is now, right? Newmarket has a town council form of government under a town administrator, with a town administrator under 49-D3. So you would say something like, this amendment clarifies that Newmarket has a town, you just paraphrase it. Now, that works fine for that one, and I think anyone picking up the warrant is going to understand exactly what it is. It's much more detailed when we get to section 4, and we talk about clarifying and redefining the town administrators. But you're going to still put together like a couple sentences that describe that.
So you're not going to have the
No.
changes in the warrant?
I don't believe so. I don't think you're going to put them in verbatim. I haven't focused on that yet. Maybe there's language in there but I'm not aware that there's a requirement to put in verbatim changes.
And I'm just questioning on the warrant itself, they usually, this is by law, and they sort of limit to how much you can put for explanations on warrant articles.
Well, I think you can put, there's not a sentence limit when a planning board presents a summary of a zoning amendment. It's just kind of practical. How much do you want people to spend reading, and when are their eyes going to glaze
Zoning
over?
amendments don't go on the town warrant. It goes to the town council.
I understand that, but I'm talking analogously,
Yeah.
under the form of government where you go into the voting booth and walk and read a zoning amendment, which is what almost all towns do. Very few towns have charters, which you used to do, and many voters are familiar with that. You're going to see a summary.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see a summary, and that's what you're going to see here.
For each section,
For each one that you propose an amendment.
the changes.
Yeah, a change.
Category of change.
Yeah, each category change. Now, for instance, as I read this, and for instance, the town administrator amendments touch on many different subsections. And so you present the substance, and then the language says that, it says on the one hand, you have to keep it to a single subject, one subject matter, and the one subject matter would be the authorities and duties of the town administrator. But it says that it can relate to any related section, the meaning or operation of which is changed. So you're going to end up changing a number of different sections with that little summary paragraph, and that's anticipated.
Great. We also have a lot of time to figure this out. I just wanted to go over it preliminarily with you so that
Yeah.
we could have it in the back of
Yeah.
our head. So then, I guess the next question we asked you, which Chris has now put into this latest draft, is this difference between ordinances and resolutions.
Right.
Did you just want to go over that a couple of seconds? Since
Yeah, I mean, when I read through here, you know, I know one of the objectives you've had is that people should be able to pick this up and understand how town government works. And so I found it curious that they describe ordinances, but really most of the work gets done by resolution. And the town council really doesn't do many ordinances in the case of a year. They do it all through the resolution. So I thought that warranted some clarification, just so that people, you know, I mean, we live in a world where people can call this thing up and they're watching it at home, or they can put it on their big screen TV and have one, you know, portion of the TV watching the meeting, another portion of the meeting trying to figure out how they're operating and doing things. And so I thought, let's describe this difference. And so I went and researched, you know, from other sources around the country, and I found some places that gave a distinction, which I thought was a useful one, which I passed on to Chris, about the difference between an ordinance and a resolution. And I thought plugging in language like that would help people understand how the council functions. And so that was the objective. That was all I was trying to do. I mean, I think as a practical matter, you know, what the council has historically done is used resolution and ordinance almost synonymously to describe the time period in which they do things, like 2 readings and things like that. But I thought, from an outsider coming in and trying to understand it, it's better off clarifying it. And I'm aware that I didn't find another New Hampshire charter that clarified it, but I didn't think clarification was a bad thing. So that was what that was all about.
Does everybody understand the distinction between an ordinance and a resolution?
I think I do. But that doesn't mean everybody else does. Why don't you explain for people on the television?
Sure, and an ordinance is a piece of law that's enforceable, and a resolution is a piece of policy, an expression of policy that's not enforceable as a matter of law. So if you have an ordinance that says, after November 15th, there won't be any furniture on the sidewalks on account of snow plowing. If people don't observe that, then the code enforcement officer or police officer can go down and talk to whoever the furniture belongs to. Whereas a policy is, a resolution is, you know, voting thanks for the Charter Commission for doing a great job. It's a resolution.
I like
It's
that.
not enforceable. And to you in particular, Clay.
Yes. So now, not to jump around, but in the substance of the proposed change, we've now created a distinction between the adoption of a resolution and an ordinance. An ordinance requires the 3 meetings and all the notification, and a resolution is a much simpler process. And my understanding is the council had to use the ordinance process, or whatever process was in the charter of the 3 meetings, even to adopt a resolution. Is that correct?
I think, I can't speak for Steve of the council because I don't know of him, but my impression was they followed the notice requirements for adopting resolutions. Or Phil, you'd know. Okay.
So,
I also
again,
understand that the council is going to 2 business meetings a month instead of a business meeting and a workshop.
We've discussed it, it hasn't officially moved. But yeah, we would potentially be moving that way.
And you do that with a resolution.
There you go. Administrative.
Right.
which would require only 1 meeting. Do you think that that this is a fair distinction, and it gives you the flexibility to move?
Totally, I think that's
Okay.
actually exactly what we need. It forces the codification through the resolution, so people can go back and see what we did administratively, but it still doesn't burden us with the requirements of an ordinance to have the hearings and the public notice anytime we want to do so.
So this change manifests itself in 3.8. And since we're on this, do we want to talk about the substance? Does anybody have any problems with the new F
What was the date of that one?
today?
Oh, okay. I don't have a copy of that.
Oh,
Do you have an
okay.
extra?
I don't think I
one?
did either.
I don't either.
I didn't get that red line.
The red line.
It never
Uh,
came through.
All the only,
I didn't send
Came
it
through at
out.
4:30.
It didn't get out till late because I was working all
I
day.
get on late this afternoon.
the 4:30 is,
You have copies of it right there?
Oh, there it is.
I have one copy of, because it's 30 pages, and I
Okay.
couldn't impose on my lot.
Okay, so
We got a table of contents now as well.
I know that I had a conversation with Steve early in the week, Steve Fornia, and he talked about the idea of going to two council sessions a month, so that you wouldn't have a full 30 days between council meetings in which they could take actions on things. He told me that in light of doing two a month, he liked the idea of having two readings for resolutions because it allowed council members to not be hit with something the first night that they receive it in their package, and allows them to get feedback from their constituents about things that come up on the agenda. And he thought that that would lead to a better process. And he acknowledged that when you were only having council meetings every 30 days, it sometimes, that was too much time to allow for rapid decision-making. But if you're going to have them every 15 days, he thought two sessions led to a better give and take between constituents about things coming on the agenda. And so I just passed that along for what it's worth.
So,
The change that John has proposed for this resolution stuff should have been in the thing that went out last Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
It should have been in there.
I only have,
looking at 3.8, right?
Yeah, 3.8F. 3.8F. I did get one out late today, which had the thing that Phil suggested in 4.16, and then it's got a table of contents now as well. You should have this as well, John.
I was like out of the office.
Yeah.
all right, so you want me to read it?
Yeah, please.
Okay, F. Every proposed resolution of the council shall be introduced in writing and in the form required for adoption. No resolution shall contain more than one subject, which shall be clearly expressed in its title. Each resolution shall be identified by a number and short title. The resolution shall have a clause or clauses that explains the reason for the action, followed by the substance of the resolution. If there are specific notice and reading requirements, they should be inserted.
Okay, so.
Is that meant to be a parenthetical that right
Yeah.
here we should put?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
yes. That's exactly what that was.
All right, so this is where we need to talk about, do we want to do this across two meetings, or what?
I think you would unnecessarily restrict the council. Decision of how many meetings a resolution readings are required for a resolution should be an administrative item that the council handles, and we shouldn't restrict it by charter.
It should be the
Kevin, is
chair's
that what you're gonna
discretion.
I agree. I think hamstringing the council if they can't act on a resolution that they need to act on right
Right,
away
right.
would hinder their ability to do those. If they want to take 2 or 3 meetings to go before they actually make a decision, that's up to them.
So we just leave it at the end of the period then, right? The substance of the resolution. period.
Or you could say in their bylaws. In other
Okay,
words, you reference their bylaws, and then they can think about it, because there should be at least a rule, and then the council can figure out what they want that to be.
And every year, the council passes what its rules are for the
Oh,
year,
okay.
so they should be addressing it in that.
are they rules or bylaws?
Why don't you say council
Sure.
rules or bylaws, and
I
then,
think it's rules.
I
Okay,
think it is rules, yeah.
So what language are you typing in there, Clay?
I'm saying, resolution shall be adopted in accordance with the council's rules.
What does it say?
Resolution shall be adopted in accordance with the council's rules.
Didn't it have reference to readings before? That was the real issue that I think,
There was not.
no? Did you ever, I thought someone said the number, what was in the parenthesis before?
The parenthetical kind of comment was reference should be made,
If there are specific notice and reading requirements, they should
be
be
inserted,
inserted.
yeah.
Okay, so,
Notice and reading requirements shall be in accordance with the rules of the council?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And that way the council will know, oh, we gotta
You have to have
kind of address
notice and
this
reading
issue,
requirements.
right? I think that helps people, because then if constituents want to address an issue, it allows the councilors to say, well, that will require an ordinance, or it allows the council to say, you know, I can do this through a resolution, or can you propose a resolution? And there's two different types of pieces of paper with different language, enacting language, that I think are in the council and the administrator's office that they use. One is resolution paper and the other is ordinance paper.
Clay, I've just put in, notice reading and adoption requirements shall be as specified in rules adopted by the council.
Even better.
Great.
Okay,
That's the final sentence of F now.
all right. Does anybody recall any other specific reason why we would like to speak with Attorney Radigan this evening?
Yeah, one of the issues that, you remember in the last meeting, I suggested I was going to contact John directly to try to short-circuit some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And we talked about the capital improvement program and how it works in here.
Right.
And Kathy's provided some documentation that you asked for.
That's right. And,
That, I think I ended up confused, and that's why I
right.
addressed this with you.
And so I was not sure whether the capital improvement requirement that's in the ordinance, that's in the charter, predated the adoption of the charter, and so was adopted by town meeting, or it
No.
came into existence.
There was no capital improvement program before there was a charter.
I understand. I agree with you. That was the conclusion that I reached, which
Yeah.
was there is no capital improvement. But in the beginning, I didn't know which it was, so I did the research, and I worked with Kathy, and what I found out is that there is no capital improvement program before the charter. So to change this, or to add something, it's just amending the charter. You don't have to worry about prior actions that were done by town meeting.
Okay.
So then the question is, if you want to do anything with it, that's up to you. And now, what section were you looking at for?
11.1D, because the way we essentially had two different provisions that we hadn't fully addressed that relate to the capital improvement committee. And I wasn't sure whether we had correctly integrated them or resolved.
I guess there's a question they were going to check with the school board. Has anyone checked with the,
Yeah, I did, I was not able to get to that item, and so, I'm sorry, I dropped the ball on that. We'll have to.
Well, I think I can help you on that.
Can we invite the school board to be on this?
I think you, what the language says, this is RSA 674-5, which is the authorization to establish a capital improvement plan. It says here, the local legislative body may authorize the planning board to prepare, and then it talks about, and as an alternative, the legislative may authorize the governing body of municipality to appoint a CIP, and that's the way your charter says it, which shall include at least one member of the planning board, and may include, but not be limited to, other members of the planning board, budget committee, or the town or city governing body. It doesn't mention the school board. So my take on this is, I think you can invite them, but I don't think you can require them. For instance, here, you can require, and set it up that a planning board member, a budget committee, and other town or governing body members shall participate. There's no authority to require the school board to participate, but I think you can set it up that you can invite them, and then if they decide to participate, then that's great, and if they decline, there's nothing you can do about it.
well, if they decline to participate, then they essentially have no CIP.
No.
They must
No,
respond.
there's two CIP, there is a requirement for the school to participate in the CIP process.
Right.
To bring in their capital improvements on
Right,
an annual
okay.
basis. That's a different issue than requiring the superintendent or
Oh,
the
yeah.
school board member to sit on the board.
Right.
So they still will participate.
So we'll just change the language in 11.1D to the school board shall be invited to appoint one member and one alternate, is the sense of what I'm hearing.
But can they be a member?
I think it may include but be not limited to, allows you to be a member, it just doesn't allow you to compel them to participate
All right,
as a member.
okay.
So I think you can. And it's probably, you probably want to have, was it to have what, the superintendent, you want to end up with an odd number, it doesn't say how many members you're going to have.
Well, there's quite a changes of other members, whatever, and the question whether the superintendent would be ex officio, like the town administrator or whatever, or...
I think that they are well, that's interesting whether you're gonna, it really doesn't give you any direction.
Right now, it's 6.
Well, 3 voting, 3 alternate. That's the way it's been
Voting
for
right now is, because I had it this afternoon,
town council, planning board, and zoning, budget committee each have 1 permanent member and 1 alternate.
and then the town planner and the
They're,
finance director.
the way it is now, right, they are, but they're talking about both the town administrator and everyone sort of seems that they should not be voting members, the town planner or the finance director.
I think that's probably a good idea.
So right now, the way we're talking about, originally was just going to be 3 voting members.
That's an odd number.
It is an odd number. I do think,
And that's what it's been for the last
10 years.
several years. It's been only 3 voting members. It's been, no, there was 5, that's right, because the finance director and the town planner were voting members, so there was 5. There's 5 today in the present CIP.
They are voting members.
they are.
But they've, I don't ever remember the finance director ever voting once in the 7, 8 years I've been there.
He's been to every meeting thus far this season.
Mhm.
This current one's been to every meeting, but that's neither here nor
Yeah,
there for this.
but, well, they were at a lot of the meetings, they just wouldn't vote. And so basically the chair, if they wouldn't vote, they'd appoint someone in his space.
Can I ask questions on capital improvement?
Yeah.
I just want to be clear. So the capital improvement committee in town should be reviewing school CIP requests?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
So
The
we should-
perfect example of why is that, if you have an impact fee ordinance.
Impact fees, right?
Right. They need to come in and bring you the documentation so you can have a record of what the capital improvements are that would support the fee.
Okay. I mean, to me, we should offer to the school board the ability to have membership on this. I can't see why they would not want it if the committee was reviewing their expenditures on CF for capital improvement projects.
So let's just leave it as shall be invited to appoint 1 member and 1 alternate.
We just can't force them to.
Yeah, right.
But we should definitely mandate that the town invites them through the charter.
Well, it's
That's a
done.
good point.
The word-
And if they say they want a member, that brings you to an even number again.
It does. I mean,
So
but
that can be taken care of by putting in another member or making the chair voting only in case of a tie.
yeah. I think that's probably simpler, because then if the school board decides they don't want to participate, you have an odd number. And if they decide they do want to participate that year, then
Well,
you have
the
the
way
vote.
it is now, the 3 alternates can replace anybody.
Mhm.
In other words, the planning board alternate can replace the budget committee
If they're not
member
present.
they're not there. That's the way it's been since its inception. Because a lot of times, basically, the finance director has not been there for, I don't think the last 3 years, I don't remember the finance director being at a meeting, and when I was chair, I would just appoint one of the, either the zoning board, the council didn't have an alternate at that time either, so I would appoint either the planning board alternate or the budget committee alternate, and I would go back and forth on them so that it gave us the odd number.
Yeah. All right.
Have some sufficient wording that we're happy with.
The only wording I've added is to what Leo proposed is the school board shall be invited to appoint. That's the only change.
Well, I guess we ought to find out whether they want that, and if so, we ought to put it in the statute so that we can work on this alternate business, or
Well, I think
Not
that
sure what
since,
you're saying.
since it's optional, I don't think it really matters whether they
We-
want it or not.
It says the school board shall be invited to appoint one member and one alternate. That's what's written in there right now.
Okay.
I haven't done anything else to it, to what you proposed, except add those three words.
So that would make an even number if the school board put one in to the council, budget committee, and planner. The three we have now, if you put in the school board member, that would make it four.
You could
with
write in
four
an at-large
alternates.
member to be appointed by the council.
Hmm?
You could write in, and if you were worried about an even number, write in an at-large member to be appointed by the council,
Or the chair.
or the chair.
That's the way, the
If you think that's a
statute
good
now.
idea, or by the chair.
statute now reads, the CIP statute now reads that the chair will appoint all alternates.
I'm not trying to make a power grab, Leo, I'm just trying to propose a solution.
I'm not on it anymore, so I
But
don't care.
at-large
I don't want
members,
to do it.
at-large members are not alternates. What Chris is proposing is that we add at-large members,
Right.
which
I'm
I'm
just-
not against,
If
based
you're
on
worried
my-
about, if you're concerned about having an even number and having deadlocks.
I'm more concerned about the lack of institutional knowledge in a CIP committee, because in 1 year, since they're all appointed from other boards and committees and whatnot, you could end up with an entire CIP of people that are on it for the first year. And then I would rather see some like term of 3-year at-large members that have remained some institutional knowledge on that board. Because I think it's an incredibly important committee, and so I back Leo up on that one the entire time up here, and that, to me, losing that institutional knowledge results in, from what I can tell, confusion amongst department heads when we're putting in reports, putting in requests.
Normally, the council has always had a separate, they've never had two councilors appointed to the CIP in a row that I never recall. The planning board, the budget committee, I was on, always the representative for the budget committee.
Okay, so now we have 6, and we're concerned that we're going to have 4 or something. I'm confused.
So it
The way it's proposed, is 6 not an even number?
Last time I checked, it was.
Okay, so we've had this problem all along, and we're just
we
now?
have 5 voting members right now.
Okay, all right, I got
It
it.
was 5.
It's
Alternates
becoming-
should not count as voting members, right?
Clue.
So right now what we have is council, budget,
planning,
planning,
school board,
school
and then
board.
2 members to be appointed by the committee. That's 6,
School board shows up.
if the school board shows up. 6 is odd, or even.
Why do we have the 2 members appointed by the
I
committee?
don't know, it's in there.
Are we searching for a problem
Yeah.
to apply this solution to?
I'm searching for,
I don't think it's, I don't really think it's a problem. But Leo, I mean, isn't the CIP like pretty much a consensus board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're making usually recommendations. I mean, on our town, I'm on the CIP committee, we rate things high, medium, and low priority. And we operate by consensus, and,
I agree, we never had,
yeah,
every vote we've ever taken been, no, I would say that.
Just
was
about every vote.
unanimous, but.
Right.
McMenamin.
We had a tie, didn't we?
right,
McMenamin was never on a unanimous.
right.
so then
So,
let's go through 11(1)D again.
Just make it that the chair doesn't vote unless it's to break a
There
tie.
shall be a capital improvement program
I don't know.
committee consisting of up to 6 members. The town council shall appoint 1 council member and an alternate. The budget committee shall appoint 1 and an alternate. The school board shall be invited to appoint 1 and an alternate. And the planning board will appoint 1 planning board member and 1 alternate. All to serve for 1-year terms. Then it says, 2 members shall be appointed by the committee.
That's language where I'm like, where is that?
Shall we work on that sentence, or are we going to leave that the way it is?
That, I've never seen that statement. sentence before.
I think you might want to take that out of there.
Okay.
Take which out of where?
Well,
Take the 2 members shall be appointed by the committee.
yeah, listen to what the statute said. The legislative body may authorize the governing body, which would be the council, of a municipality to appoint a capital improvement program committee, which shall include at least 1 member of the planning board, blah, 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 blah. So it's really the council appointing people.
Yeah.
And
If
so
there
I
were
don't-
2 at-large members from the council, I would support that.
Right, I mean, so it's the council appointing people, so I don't think there's any authority in the statute for the chair, sorry, Leo, to appoint regular members. I think you have the ability to appoint the alternates.
See, Leo, you were ahead, and you kept talking. John will tell you, the first law of lawyering is when you're winning, sit down and shut up.
It's gonna go, and I know the way it has gone in the past, and
Right.
it's,
All right, so 2 members shall be appointed by the town council, 2 at-large members. How do you guys want to do that?
Whatever Phil thinks.
Done, now it's the committee. I think at-large members.
2 at-large members shall be appointed by the town council.
I mean, we're gonna run into the challenge of getting people to volunteer for things. We're adding,
Well, that's why I said up to 6.
Right.
And then how long should the term of these people be?
gotta be 1 year.
well, for the,
Keeps changing, I mean, but,
no, for
For the
the at-large members.
oh,
Same term.
I would like 2 to 3 years, because institutional knowledge is my biggest concern. I mean, Leo, you know, like, you could end up
2?
a random year, a whole bunch of
Just
people
say
turning
for a
over.
term not to exceed 3 years.
There you go, that's good.
For a term not to exceed 3 years.
What are you doing, Clay?
I'm just typing because I feel like
Let
it.
me type,
Well,
because you're doing my job,
all right, I'm sorry.
making me look bad.
I'm playing Battlefield.
Hey, You're playing Angry Birds again.
I don't know, I want Clay type too. I had you typing last week on adding the
2 members shall be
budget
appointed by
committee,
Chris
the
Hawkins,
CIP. Again, I see it didn't come into the charter.
who shall wear purple robes. All right,
The other
so
question
I think we
I-
got D, right?
I think so.
Okay.
The other question I have for John is, our proposed 4.12 and our current 10.12 look very, very similar to me. And I was wondering if one of them could be eliminated. Because they're both about the reorganization of departments.
John, would you like to use my computer since I'm not allowed to type anymore? Because you can, so you can see it?
If they look, yes, 10.12 does look the
An awful
same
lot
as
like 4.12.
4.12. I would get rid of 10.12, would be my suggestion.
I'm good with
Because
that.
I think it's better, it's better under, since you're saying it's the administrator who's going to propose any amendments to the administrative code, I think you'd be looking for it under the powers of the administrator to see who can do that. I mean, you could keep the heading, I suppose, if you really wanted to keep the heading in 10.12 and then say C 4.12, but, you know, because do you have what's the heading of, departments and administrative code, reorganization plans. I mean, maybe you change the heading, right, of 412 to add departments and administrative codes, comma, reorganization plans, because there is the authority to reorganize under 4.12.
Yep.
But I agree, it looks to be repetitive,
From the Department of Redundancy Department.
right? Right.
And the Ministry of Funny Walks.
Here for an argument?
Yes?
No, you're not. You may.
412D.
Yes.
The first phrase, upon the recommendation of the town administrator, and I realize this is in chapter 4, the council may, by amendment to the administrative code, create, consolidate, or abolish departments, blah, 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 blah. Does that mean that it has to be upon recommendation of the administrator? Or is the council able to act independently?
Good question.
It's not written to authorize them to act independently.
The way this is written, if
only
the
the-
council want, like, if you had 7 counselors that said, we don't need Department X,
Right.
and the town administrator wanted it, the town administrator, they would be out of luck.
So you could say upon recommendation of the town administrator or upon the initiative of the council.
That, I would much rather that. My concern is, and it's nothing against Steve, Steve's a great guy, but it seems to me that what you'd end up doing is putting a ton, the entire initiative of any sort of adjustment to the town's infrastructure, human resources or human capital infrastructure would be laid completely at the administrator. The council have no say until that person said something.
That's a good catch. You don't want to give, the
Yeah.
town administrator doesn't have veto power over the council.
And that's
Right.
exactly what that's saying, yeah.
Yeah, that's, yep.
The other, something else I picked up, and this is a little maybe overzealousness on my part, in 2.3C, that's when we changed it so that the supervisor of the checklist, the chair of the supervisors of the checklist could, we didn't want to have them limited to one term of 2 years. And I think I initially proposed to just delete that whole thing, but really I think all we're doing is deleting the last sentence. Because they're still being elected for a chair, for a term of 2 years.
Looks fine to me.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yep,
Otherwise, it's like a lifetime appointment.
yep.
So it's only the last, the sentence, "He may not succeed himself" is deleted, and only that sentence. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
I think that was just a little bit,
So are the blue highlights the parts that changed from last meeting to this meeting?
yes.
Okay, got it.
And typically I added comments.
Oh, okay.
To highlight what I was
Describe the
doing?
changes? Okay.
You guys should have gotten all this last Wednesday or Thursday. John, I don't know why,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know why either.
John Badger didn't get them either. No, another set went out today at 4:30 with a table of contents on it. This has been a persistent
never got a
issue.
table of contents.
That one just came in.
Yeah, that one just came in today.
No, at 4:30, I was there, and the interesting thing, nothing came on my iPad, no attachments, but I went down to my PC, and I got 2 attachments, but there was nothing redlined. It was basically
Yeah, that's what I
just
got.
statement, yeah.
That-
That's all I got.
Right.
I got that twice, once from John's office and from
can't
you again. I
explain it.
never got anything.
I got them twice too, but I got a lot of things.
One was redlined and one wasn't, right?
Yeah, well,
No, I
that
never
was
got
John's
anything
office.
redlined.
John's office sent out red line and a clean version.
Oh, okay, that's the one.
Right,
Right.
that was from John's office
And that was
today.
only on the preliminary report.
Yeah, that I got.
Yeah,
That I got.
I got that too.
This I got at 4:30 from Chris.
Right.
Oh,
And
oh.
Chris sent out an earlier draft earlier in the week.
Okay, didn't,
Okay.
might have missed.
I think a lot of stuff when you
What I'll
have
do, Chris,
multiple
is check
your junk
addresses,
mail.
they
If,
get the junk mail.
Oh, no, it all comes in. If I don't get it when you recycle it again, if I don't get it when you recycle it again, I'll come back and ask you for it.
Yeah,
But it was 4:30 tonight, and I had some. No, that's yours, that's yours.
I got it on my computer. That's the latest you're looking at right there.
Nothing like this.
Okay. Anything else for Attorney Radigan?
Well, I guess so.
Attorney Radigan, do you have anything for us?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Funny you should ask. Well, I went through the meeting minutes from September 16th.
Okay.
And I caught a couple of things where you guys were asking for input. I just want to make sure that, that we tracked them all. So, in 4.8, it appears that there is now language in there about the town administrator setting the compensation for, I think it was consistent with statute. I think it's, maybe it's in 4.6, it's in Roman numeral 2, to appoint upon merit and fitness alone, and to remove all subordinate employees under his control and to fix their compensation. That's accurately recites what the statute says is the town administrator's authority, and there was an early iteration that didn't have to fix the compensation language in it.
What section were you just reading from, John? I'm
Well, I
sorry.
was reading, well, I think it's in 4.6, it was the crossed out, it's the red line changes that I had put in an earlier
Right.
Where I said note, RSA 37.6 specifies the manager shall have the power, and it shall be his duty, and it talks about to fix the compensation of all employees and subordinates. Do you have that?
Yeah, I see it, it's redlined.
Page on the charter over there?
Well, this is hard because I'm dealing off the last set, it's the red line sections that I sent out on.
If you look at the laundry list, the laundry list,
Yeah. What number is it? Or letter?
it's right above if I'm, got this right, it's right above A.
You're right about 4.6A.
Oh, there it is, I see it.
And we talked about this, Phil, you were the one who really led the discussion on
This
this
is at the library.
issue of compensation when we were at the library.
Yeah, I don't know where it went, but what I wanted to clarify for you is that the statute, RSA 37.6,
6.
specifies that the town administrator has that authority. The present charter doesn't say that. If you're going to make some charter amendments that address and follow faithfully what the RSA 37.6 says, it should say that.
Yeah, and as I recall how that conversation settled out, we left it as the town administrator being the one that sets it, so I'm wondering why it's redlined down.
I thought, wasn't my sense of the discussion. My sense of the discussion was that, candidly, I thought this was primarily your point. Was that?
Well, my concern was on whether or not how it would, whether it would pass the council's muster.
Well, and that,
Well,
you know, I understand there can be tension between what the charter says, what the practices have been, and what RSA 37.6 says. And I don't think there's any requirement for you to spell out everything in RSA 37.6 in this document. But I'm just calling to your attention that that's what the statute says. Do you have to put it in there? I don't think you have to put it in there. If the town administrator and the council have a discussion about what the town administrator's authorities are, and they discuss 37.6, I think the conclusion is pretty clear what 37.6 says. But it may very well be that everyone's completely happy with the way things go now and who sets compensation.
So, can I?
Yeah.
37.6 outlines what the town manager
Yes,
authority is,
Right.
correct? So, but the administrator possesses all of the authorities of the RSA of town manager?
that's correct. The statute says that we don't care what you call them. If you adopt this charter form of government with a town
You
administrator,
basically have a manager.
you have a manager.
Right.
And I understand why you've decided not to have a name change for that position, because that's what you've been calling the person. But as to actually what their authority is, it's as the manager.
The discussion at the last meeting was whether or not to establish a pay scale, and apparently someone stated that it should be a policy decision of the council. You're saying that's counter to the RSA,
you can establish a compensation schedule.
just not individual compensation for an employee?
Well, can you establish a compensation
Yeah.
schedule?
I mean, it sounds counter to the RSA as John just read it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that where the statute says shall fix their compensation, I think the person fixes their compensation. Does the council have the authority to adopt a resolution, a policy document that says, listen, this is what we think the range should be, and you're working for us, and we'd really like you to work within that range for the following positions? I think that you can have that kind of dialogue between the council and a manager.
So, let me just, okay, that's good, thank you. Yeah, my last question. So, basically, what the RSA 37.6 is saying is that even department heads, the council has no say in pay outside of basically the town administrator.
Yeah, I think it says thou shalt fix their compensation, you know, but, and
But you have the power of the purse.
Yeah, the budget. We
Yeah, the
talked
budget.
about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and the administrator works for you, and so if I'm the administrator and I get some pretty clear direction from what the salary range is for people that I'm hiring, I go outside that salary range at my peril. Does the administrator have the right probably to issue a legal contract to someone else that's outside that range? Probably he does, but
This is the relationship between Congress and the executive offices.
Yeah.
They don't decide how much the Secretary of State gets paid or whoever, but they set the budget for
Right.
for the State Department.
Right.
And if they're not happy, then
Right.
there's consequences.
I just think we
That's-
need to make sure it's incredibly clear to everyone, have this conversation on television, that 37.6, 37.6 makes it very clear that the council does not have the right to, the council doesn't set pay, it's the administrator.
yeah.
It's the
But the council has something to say about it. The council has oversight
general.
Oversight of the
and
budget,
retains the power of the person.
Yeah,
of the
but
budget.
not line item onto an individual's salary. The council can't go in and say, when you hire a whomever, a finance director, this is what you should pay him, exactly.
No, but I don't think that, for instance, we have this section later that talks about interference with administration.
Yes.
I don't think the council is interfering with the administration when they give guidance to the town
Right.
administrator as to, what are we looking for? Here's what we've paid historically. We understand that people in adjoining towns of similar, of similar communities are getting paid this, but we're giving better health care coverage than, say, Durham is, and so maybe we'll pay a little less, and they can communicate that information to the town administrator.
I don't think it's quite as black and white, Phil, as maybe you're suggesting. I think the council has ways of expressing its views
Right.
and making those views stick if necessary.
But the council can't say if they're given a contract, this is what I want to sign the new finance director on for, and, not to keep using finance, and the council can't just go back to the administrator and say, no, that's too much.
Well, they can say it, but
They can
they can't,
say it.
they
Make
can't
them do
enforce it.
Ah, okay,
That's
there you
right.
go.
That's
I'm
right.
sorry, when I say say it, I mean
Yeah.
direct. I
Yeah,
should say.
yeah. No, I don't-
They cannot
Well,
direct the
No,
administrator.
I don't
to
think they
change.
can direct, I don't think they can direct.
They can't say, this is how much you're going to pay this person, but they can say, we're not comfortable
Right.
for the following reasons. And then it becomes, if that happens often enough, then it becomes a larger issue.
It's a
That's
check-
an issue between the council and
I
the
think you have to think
Correct.
of it from a policy standpoint. It's a check and a balance
Right.
on these two entities. And the theory is that the council should not be interfering with the employees. And dictating a specific position salary or person's salary is tantamount to interference, I think. I mean, you start to cross the line.
Seems to be disagreement amongst the lawyers in the room.
I don't know, I mean.
Oh,
I-
you're talking about an area that's gray.
think
There's
it's gray.
no, and it's intentionally gray. It's designed to be this way because there is tension, and the tension is healthy.
Yeah, there's all kinds of theories about why the legislature has given, the town manager that authority. I mean, one theory is that, you're really hiring a professional to do the job. The professional should have the people that he or she wants to work for them and to attract them. And then, if it doesn't work out, well, the administrator or administrator is the person who's ultimately going to be held accountable. And so, that's one approach to why they give them that authority.
Flip it around. I mean, the council can't, you don't want department heads currying favor with the council in the hope of getting a pay raise.
Right.
Right.
Completely agree.
That's exactly what you don't
Right,
want.
right, exactly. You don't want people, hobnobbing with elected officials.
And you can't have one part of the charter saying you can't interfere with people, and then the other part saying, oh, you could turn their pay raise to $10 a year.
Right.
Right.
It's a conundrum.
So anyway, I just wanted to alert you that that was not in the original one. And I don't think you have to put it in there, but you might want to put it in there. And
At one point, you said you were gonna put together some verbiage or whatever on something to be put in the council that might give them the authority to work on village districts, or authorize them in the future or whatever. Is that ever going anywhere?
Yeah,
You ever remember seeing that, saying?
yeah, we talked about that.
we
Yeah,
talked about that.
it's one sentence. All you have to do is say that the
Where?
council. No, I don't know if it's in there.
It's not in here,
I haven't seen the
Leo.
latest.
I'll do it right, we can do it.
It's very
We can talk
easy,
about it,
Leo.
do it right now.
Matter of fact,
But you said earlier that the RSA is already authorized.
I agree. I think the RSA already authorized, is it?
They already have the authority.
Right, they do.
Has the authority.
And
Necessary to repeat that in the charter?
no, I don't think it is. But
But where does the town get the authority to do that? RSA 52 only gives it to the Board of Selectmen.
when you say town, I always,
Talking village districts.
Yeah, it's RSA Chapter 52.
52, 5, 2.
It's the establishment of village districts.
Yep, 5 is changing boundaries.
The establishment of village district, R52, only gives the authority to the selectmen on petition. You can't
That's
create a village district. They don't even have to go to town meeting to do
clear.
it. In fact, Newfields, they just got petitioned, the selectmen got petitioned by 10 voters, and they established a village district for their water and sewer district.
And that's a selectman from, are there any town council forms of government that have village districts?
Yes. There are some of the charters that we have.
Merrimack has a water district,
Mhm.
not a sewer, a water district, and they're 5 times bigger than Newmarket, but I think, I'm not sure, but I think Merrimack had their water village district before they went to a charter form of government. I think that their water village districts goes back to the 70s or 80s.
Given that there's some unclarity
right.
in this, is it fair that we should have some kind of enabling language?
Yeah, I think it's fine to put in a sentence that says the council, do you want to authorize the council to set up a village district? I mean, right now, I read 52-1 as upon the petition of 10 or more voters, persons domiciled in any village. It doesn't say or selectmen, it says, well, it doesn't say or selectmen, it says it says the selectmen of the town. So either the selectmen or 10 voters. And so you don't have selectmen, but you have a council, and you certainly have 10 voters. So I think there's authority to do this, and you don't need to repeat it. But if you want to alert people in the governing document of the town, of how your government is structured, that that a village district, all you have to do is say,
Town council may establish one or more village districts
In accordance with 52.
in accordance with RSA.
with
Chapter
RSA 52, right.
Can the council do it without the
Where?
petition?
Excuse me?
Can the council do it without the petition?
Yeah, they're the equivalent of the selectmen.
They would need a petition.
Where would you suggest that they put it in?
I'm plugging that into
10.
Section 3, which is the authority of the council.
Yeah.
Just generally lays out what the authority of the council is. So it's a new 3.17.
Right, and 10 voters, even if, say that the council doesn't want a water district, but voters do. 10 voters, 10 water users could come in and make that petition in Newmarket and force a vote on that.
Which they could
They
do
don't have
anyway.
to go through the initiative petition and the charter, the 100 voters.
No, because this is established, village district statute says it's 10, and the legislature trumps the charter. And so statute trumps charter, and so it's only 10 voters. The legislature can't, the charter can't enact a hurdle that impedes people from exercising their rights of 10 voters.
Statute.
Oh, shoot. I said shoot. There we go.
Right, we good with that? Leo, you like
Okay.
that? Okay.
It's in there and it's in the table of contents.
Attorney Ragan, you have anything else for us? Your time is dwindling fast. I
That's
don't want
right.
you to be maimed.
Well, someone has to take the bullet.
There was a question about the treasurer,
Yes.
4:15, for section 4:15. The question was whether you were going to say subject to consent of the council or subject to the approval of the council, appointing a treasurer, appointed by the town manager, subject to approval of the council. Yes, that can occur. In other words, it can be subject to approval of the council, RSA 41:26E. I think it's E or C. But anyway, that's correct. there was question under, it's under 6.2, personnel plan, but it's the second paragraph, this idea of 5-year planning horizon. Were you going to, I didn't see the comments, Chris, were you going to try to suggest something that would require the council to engage in a 5-year planning horizon? Because it says here that you would speak to me and try to find out if this belongs in the charter.
That slips through the cracks. I haven't proposed.
That was Al. Zink.
Okay.
And-
I think the answer is.
That's why Al's not here tonight, because he.
Well, I talked to him, so I have the language he wants.
Oh, okay.
And we just weren't sure, because him and I chatted about it this afternoon, where it belongs. We were thinking maybe 5.5, which is the budget reports.
Is that the language
I
I
s-
sent around for Phil today? No, this is.
That was the
something
master
different.
plan one, that, yeah, Al called me after that.
I think this is problematic, and I'm not saying for a moment don't put it in here, but I think you might run into problems at the Attorney General's office and the Secretary of State's office.
Do tell.
Well, the home rule, the very limited home rule authority is given to municipalities because, quite frankly, the Secretary of State and the legislature and Attorney General don't like home rule. And so you only get what authority they say you can have. Section 49B:1 says that no authority or exercise of authority in the charter, it has to be neither in conflict with nor inconsistent with the laws of the Constitution of the State of New Hampshire. And so I think the inconsistent with is the problem, because nowhere in state statute does it authorize or require selectmen or town governing bodies to engage in a 5-year planning process. And I'm just telling, this is just my prediction of what is going to happen. And
I
so,
almost want to include it just
Just
here.
to-
I agree.
Idiots.
Listen,
That we can't plan for the fiscal future of our town.
I just
Clay Mitchell.
said.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I'll take the heat for
All
that
right,
one.
so anyway,
That's-
that's my prediction. I hope I'm wrong. So I think you should put it in wherever you think it makes sense, but you might run into
Sure,
that
it
as a
gets in the
roadblock.
minutes, I'll assume
Where
it's
were-
send it to the Attorney
Yeah,
General.
where were you thinking about putting it,
Make
Chris?
sure that's Clay Mitchell. Put in his home address and phone number and social security number in the minutes.
What paragraph were you talking about putting it, Chris?
5.5.
5.5 was what I was thinking, what Al and I were thinking, but was there somewhere else?
We had the bad.
John, when you initially responded to
secret
that,
in
was
very
there a
small
certain
print.
paragraph you were thinking about?
No, I don't really think I think it makes sense. I mean, where'd you have it under? Section, was it 5.3, reports?
5.5.
5.5.
5.5, yeah, I think that makes good
What's
sense.
the language, Phil?
It's annually the town administrator or his designee shall submit to the council a 5-year financial forecast consisting of at least expenses, revenues, and resulting tax impact.
Okay, that's a little different than I thought was going to happen. I thought you were going to require this of the council.
No.
I think you can require that of the manager.
Of the administrator?
Yeah, the minister, yeah. Yeah, that just becomes another element of their
It's
job
another-
description.
yeah.
Yeah, that's, I don't think that's a problem at all.
Shall submit to the town council.
A 5-year financial forecast consisting of at least expenses, revenues, and resulting tax impact.
Well, I'll ask you a practical question. Do you want to integrate that with the CIP?
Right.
I mean,
That's what I was just
specifically?
thinking.
Because if you really want to make the CIP work together, right, you would require integration, and then that would cause there to be, more dialogue between the administrator, the council, and the CIP process.
Right. It doesn't make sense unless you do it with the CIP.
Yeah.
It's only giving you a partial picture.
That's basically what the CIP is
Showing.
supposed to be, although it is for
Yeah.
capital expenditure.
It's just for capital expenses, just
Right.
like that's in
Yeah.
Right.
operating.
The CIP is 6 years, I thought, at least.
10.
By statute, it's at least
By-
six.
by
Statute
at
six,
least
we're doing
six.
10 right now.
At least 6, right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. Do you think we'll run into problems then with the enabling language that allows us to set up CIPs?
No, I just think all it does is it would require the manager to go get the information from the CIP committee, so that they'll see, oh, we're replacing cruisers every 2 years, or we're going to have an ambulance that's going to be replaced, in year 4, or, and so it's just going to see those types of things that are on there. The administrator is not required necessarily to take those numbers in lockstep, right? Because he may say, this isn't really, we know that the school expansion isn't going to go for another 2 years, or we know that, the ambulance fund is really self-sustaining now, so that the money they get from the income from the ambulance really pays for the ambulance, and even though they put it in the budget, we know that this is, so it doesn't require him necessarily to do anything, but it makes sense that you'd want to integrate the two.
So how do we do that in terms of drafting language?
What do you have so far? The town administrator shall,
Annually, the town administrator or his designee shall submit to the town council a 5-year financial forecast consisting of expenses, revenues, and resulting tax impact.
and take into consideration,
I'd say at least, but
yeah,
yeah.
and take into consideration the forecasting provided by the CIP process, something like that. Capital expenditure forecasting provided by the CIP process.
So we're not going to get the Attorney General and the Secretary of State angry? I was kind of hoping
Yes,
for that.
yeah, well, only if you were requiring the council to do
All right,
this.
all right.
I think that would be a problem. If you're requiring the poor town administrator to do
Objection
it,
still
that's all right.
stands. Academically.
Let's see, what else did I have?
Should we ask about the master plan language?
Yeah, you want to go,
See if we have that first.
let's see
When
if
do you
John
want
has
this,
anything
Phil?
else. What?
When do you want to see, it says annually. Okay,
Yeah,
that's at any time during the year. When is it most useful to have this information?
Prior to the budget season,
really
right?
good point, but I would say right before the budget season or during the budget season, maybe early in the budget season.
Which is November
is-
1st,
October 1st, he has to submit to us.
by October 1st of each year?
Yeah, it should just be, I guess it should, what should be is inside of his town, like his proposed budget to the council. Like, not inside, but along with.
How was he gonna do that if we're still in the CIP process now, and we're doing them simultaneously? If he needs the figures from the CIP, you can't hamstring him to the point where he doesn't have
So
the
maybe-
material that he
Well, the
needs.
CIP is a continuing thing, it's not year to year, I mean, it's a 6-year forecast, whatever.
So he
and
takes it from last year's CIP report?
Yeah, you're right, that's
Yeah.
what you'd end up doing, taking
Yeah, it
last year's.
just- And
It'll be close enough. but the
shouldn't
CIP
be
shouldn't-
real big significant changes from year to year, so.
Are we happy with by October 1st?
Yeah, I mean, if
We-
we're really
we-
concerned,
you
we
wanna
can move it to
run
the
this by
15th.
Steve.
Yeah.
Here's my last comment. Section 11.1. Annual meeting between town council and the school board. There's just a note, it says, this was a meeting not suggested in the current charter. Did that work its way into the charter?
We're thinking about it.
Okay, so my only thought would be, again, you could request but not require in the charter, because
Because it's
obviously.
not authorized by the Constitution.
Even better than that, they're an independent governing
Oh,
body, you
yeah.
can't tell them what to do. But invite, or, suitable language. And that's all I had coming out of the meeting minutes.
Can I ask about that?
Yeah, please.
So I had a proposed addition, 416 Town Master Plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
The language was, the master plan is a vital tool for the town's planning and development. As such, the master plan shall be revised at a minimum of once every 10 years. The plan can be revised incrementally, provided that no chapter of the master plan is ever more than 10 years old. Something like, we can wordsmith that, but. would
Yeah,
that
I mean,
be-
that sounds fine, I mean,
I'd
you
say the
have
master
a,
plan shall be revised at least once every 10 years.
yeah, you have the state statute on master planning, 674:3, talks about revisions to the plan are recommended every 5 to 10 years.
And that's why I wanted to put 5, but
Right.
understanding reality and the fact the statute allows to 10, that if
Right.
I restricted it any more than 10, or we did, it would create a situation.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Thank you, Attorney
So
Ragland.
what is sent to the Attorney General's and the Secretary of State's office is gonna be just the basic,
Yeah, what I anticipate will happen after tonight is Chris will make a final set of changes. He'll circulate those changes to me and to members of the commission. And you'll either meet really quickly or respond through me with email telling me that it's a final document. And then you'll also come to final language on this, right? And then this document will be signed by you, the preliminary report, and then you'll attach the preliminary charter revisions. Then you have to go through the procedure in the statute. You got to give it to the town clerk, and she's got to send it up and stuff like that. But I'll take it right away and get it to the Attorney General's office outside the formal process and ask for comments.
Does it need to be in warrant article form at this point? We don't have to worry about that until we do the adoption, right?
No, we don't have to do that
They just need to
later.
see the
They just
red line
need to see
changes.
all the red line changes.
Okay, great.
And then they will review that for consistency with state laws and the state constitution, and to make sure that everything you've done, it's rare you don't get a couple constructive comments back. And then you can take those constructive comments into account when you make your final report. So I'll be expecting something from you. I mean, we're good on the timeline, the preliminary report deadline is not till October 31st. So, we've got, I would like to get it up to the AG's office in a week or so, 10 days. But we've got plenty of time. And I can interact with Clay and Chris about, the procedure of how you finalize this and sign it, and then the clerk has to send it out, and you make copies of it and all that kind of stuff.
When do you really want it in your hands to go there, about when?
Next week.
Yeah, next week sometime.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can do that.
And you still get, it's not the end of the world if the deadline skips to the other day. I'm sure there are people that send stuff out on the 31st, because then the Attorney General's office has 30 days from receipt of, to get their comments back. And so the final report deadline of 12/31 takes that into account. And then your vote will be what, next May?
Yep.
March.
March, okay.
March 11th.
So the sooner we get it out, the sooner we get it back in order to make any changes.
Right, and then the sooner that you can get final approval so that you can start getting people to become familiar with it and communicating with the public.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you
Nice to
very
see you all tonight.
See you.
Okay, folks, should we go through the other changes in the charter that we made from the last meeting, or go over any that people had new thoughts about, or?
Yep.
Okay, let's just
sense.
start from the top. We are at 1.2. What did we change from the last meeting, Chris? Does this need to be revised in light of other changes that we are proposing? No, right? You asked a question.
I raised the question, considering what 1.2 is just like a general statement of what the charter is, okay? My question was, for consideration by the group, was simply, in light of the changes that it looks like we're suggesting, do we need to change anything in the general description of what the charter is? And it's just a thought to put out there. And I would just delete where it says various departments of the town as established by the charter. I would just delete by this charter. Because there's no longer departments established in the charter.
No,
They're now established by administrative code. That's all.
I think your opening sentence that you've added that says, this is a town council form of government with the town administrator. And everything else is so general that we've not impacted any of that.
Okay. Changes from last.
He may succeed himself, or he may not succeed himself. You already talked about that.
Right, we already talked about that. The resolutions we've talked about with John, that was his suggestion that we just add language. This will be language that's unique to our charter. I think we're actually ahead of the curve in terms of the development of charters in this state. Very minor thing, section 3.10, emergency appropriations. There was a reference there to RSA 3210-A. There is no such statute. It's actually RSA 3211. I did a little fly specking. Everywhere there's reference to a statute, I went and looked up the statute to make sure the statute, there never was an RSA 3210-A, so.
Okay, and then 4.3? This is good, this is what we all talked about, right, at the last meeting?
There's now
At
enabling
least.
language, section 3.17, that says the town council may establish one or more village districts in accordance with RSA Chapter 52, as of tonight. Very simple enabling language. Changes, just trying to highlight the changes from the last meeting. Let's see. I guess we've had this discussion tonight about compensation, and I guess we're going to leave the charter silent? Is that the sense?
To me, if the RSA states it, and we can just make it clearer for individuals to understand rapidly that it's the administrator that does it, I think we can add it back in.
Okay. So I'll wing that back in somewhere under the authority of the administrator is to,
You want to make reference to the statute in there?
Yeah, why don't we just,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
I'll
crystal
basically
clear.
take John's language and pop it in somewhere where it fits.
Mhm.
All right, but it'll show up there. I haven't figured that out exactly where it will go, but I'll make a note to myself.
Can I ask a quick question on that?
please.
Every time we put in accordance with RSA XYZ, well, I guess it wouldn't matter, we're not home rule. I was gonna say, if the RSA changes, does that change our charter, but it does anyway, because the charter can't be out of
Yeah.
compliance with RSA, because we're not home rule.
It automatically assumes as amended.
Yeah.
One of the minor but I think significant things I've started to do is add hyperlinks to the statutes in the charter. And Steve then, after I spent an hour doing that, Steve said, "Oh, I'm going to have people do that."
Your people.
Have your people call.
So when you see it online, you'll see
A
a hyperlink.
People be able to, that's great.
People can go look at the statute. Anything to make it a little more user-friendly. There's now a 4.16, as of tonight, the master plan should be revised no less frequently than once every 10 years.
Can you say it again? No more infrequently,
No less frequently?
no less frequently. Got it. Okay.
Did you want to establish a ministry of funny walks, or no?
I would love to. I will put that in, I will work on that.
I'm just scrolling through. We talked about that last time.
Wow, you did a lot of hyperlinks.
Yeah, I did. And then I said, I was all proud of myself. I said, "Steve, I'm putting in hyperlinks." He goes, "Oh, no, don't bother doing that. We're going to do that." Okay.
Okay, and then 5.7, no changes.
5.7, they were supposed to add in budget committee after, and I see it wasn't added, at least copy I saw. The capital improvement program committee shall prepare and submit to the council. It was supposed to be added, and budget committee, a capital improvement plan, at least one. That's 674-8 calls for putting it before the budget committee.
That's a miss on my part, and now it's in there.
Huh?
You just put it in.
I just put it in there.
Oh.
I just missed it, Leo. Now it's in there. I'm just looking for changes from the
But
last.
were we gonna add in 5.7.1, I thought we were gonna mention schools in that section, 2. It goes fiscal, sewer, water, sidewalks, public spaces, recreation, police, and public facilities, including schools, no?
thought I put that in there, but apparently not.
Huh?
It's in there now. I thought I had added it, but I got like 15 different versions of this thing, so I may have added it in a different version.
'Cause I didn't see it in the
Yeah,
deleted.
it
It's
was
in there now.
decided to add to this.
Huh?
Yep.
It's in there now.
Okay,
I just typed it in.
okay.
I'll just put in school facilities.
Any more of Leo's suggestions you ignored, Chris?
Well, I
I'm
didn't
just
ignore
kidding, I'm
them.
totally kidding.
Never presume malice till you rule out incompetence.
Thank you for that helpful quote. I'm going to remember that. All right. Leo, is there anything else we missed in CIP on that section? We are on 6.2 personnel plans.
Yeah.
This is where we said, rather than deemed to have been approved, they're rejected.
Right, that, we talked about that last time. I'm just trying to pick up things that we didn't talk about last
Right.
time. I think that's, in terms of stuff that's new from the last meeting, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, let me ask everybody this. Do you have anything else you'd like to go over in terms of this language?
Wow, it's something I hadn't seen before. When they talked about rate of compensation of council members should only be changed by a charter amendment
Do we want to talk about,
approved by the voters. I never know, because I know there've been talk about, the council, whatever, compensation. Wow. I guess I gotta start reading this a little closer. So the voters have got to approve any changes to the councils of compensation.
that makes sense to me.
Hmm?
That makes sense.
Do we need to worry about, is there any conflict between 6.3C and what we just talked about with the compensation issue?
Why did we let John go?
I don't know. Because his wife was going to kill him?
Oh, yeah, the compensation of department heads is not fixed by any provision of the charter.
That is true.
Shall be fixed in the personnel plan. So it just kind of restates what's already there. It's just weird to have it stated in more than one location.
What I'm gonna suggest I do is raise this with John.
Okay?
So that almost says that you can't go outside the maximum minimum, doesn't it? If the personnel policy has a
Schedule of pay.
what?
A schedule of pay.
Yeah. Doesn't that say you can't go outside of that?
Yeah, and it's submitted from time to time by the administrator, and the council must act on it. I guess they could just
This
sit
is
there and not.
potentially problematic. I
Yeah,
think this
they-
is something we gotta talk to John about.
Okay. All right, we have a new issue.
One of the most difficult things to pick up is conflicts between different parts of the
Yeah.
charter that are 15 pages apart.
Yeah.
What do you do with collective bargaining?
Sorry, Kevin?
What do you do with collective bargaining agreements where
It says in there.
Well, it says
That's
collective
separate.
bargaining.
It's separate.
They're always separate by
Bargaining
contract anyway.
Outside of
I
this.
see it, sorry.
So this,
The council approves the union contract, I assume,
yes.
Correct.
so.
So, if the council unionizes, they come out of this?
We're going to go on strike.
I like that. It'll be a tough bargaining.
United Steelwork.
I don't see council compensation changing in the foreseeable future.
Well, but here's one thing that I will say. There was talk 2 budget cycles ago, when we were looking at line items of, can we reduce council compensation?
Yeah.
And as this is written right now, we can't.
Nope.
No.
Like, when we're looking for places to save, one of the places we were looking at is like, well, that's kind of how much we're making. And I realize it's not that much, but it's like, I don't know. It's like, we're in this together, right? So we had no, like, ability to even cut that because of the way this is written. I know it's written for the concern for the opposite, right?
Yeah, it goes both ways.
What is the compensation?
1,500.
$1,500.
I think for the, I mean, I don't want anybody to have any kind of thought that I might ever run for the council. But, because I assure you there's not. I think you guys work way too hard already, and I mean, I think that you could get a bunch of people on there that would cut the budget, and then people, you know, it just, we shouldn't even talk about it. I think it's, the amount is set, and I think that the voters should change it.
The way,
If you
based
guys want
on,
to give it back as a donation, that's great.
based on the surveys that I've seen so far, I'd say the average hourly commitment is about 15 hours a week on average. So you're talking about $2 an hour.
$3 an hour?
You know, $2 an hour over the course of a year.
Enough?
It's true.
You can move up to the state legislator.
Make less.
Yeah.
And I suspect that most councilors just give it back. I
Yeah,
mean,
if they feel that.
I did. I just, you know, you're buying T-shirts and you're donating money, and that's what you're doing with it.
If you want to give it more, add mileage.
They can already get mileage. You can get your expenses reimbursed.
Okay, so are you going to talk to John, or am I going to talk to John, or this compensation thing?
I'll shoot him an email tomorrow and copy you on it.
All right, so the question is, how does section 6.3C and the personnel plan interact with what we just talked about with respect to the town administrator and
Right.
setting of pay?
Right.
Got it. We might as well add 6.4 too. Comply with approved pay schedules, just to make sure that all these things work together.
There isn't currently a
Pay schedule.
pay schedule. That's disappeared.
No pay schedule for what?
For any of the
Personnel.
town personnel. We used to have a plan with,
Yeah.
you know, that disappeared. So. Three or four revisions of the personnel plan ago.
All right, I think, where are we now? That seems like everything.
Yeah, it's out of the.
I think that's, yeah.
All right, shall we go through the preliminary report?
Yep. Just to explain a little bit about what happened. When we got the charter to what it looked like, to me, it was about 90%. So I pulled out the findings we had done in the early part of the process and looked at them again, and it kind of seemed like a lot of them didn't fit anymore. The findings were a bit more kind of radical than what we ended up doing. So I was kind of looking at that, and I talked to, in the context of my other discussions with John, he said, yeah, that's way too elaborate what you're doing. And he showed me what Peterborough had done when they adopted their charter, and their preliminary report looked a lot like this. It was basically one page. And it was very kind of a general statement of what they had done. So this is kind of built on that model, with the idea of simplifying it. And wasn't sure that a lot of those findings really applied to what we had actually ended up doing anyway. So this is kind of intended to be less contentious and more reflective of what we've actually done.
I have a question on the first paragraph, the last sentence.
Yep.
It says the commission reviewed the charters of several New Hampshire cities and towns, comma, the council obtained.
Whoops. The commission.
That's an editing.
Yeah, it should be the commission.
It's an editing glitch. Excuse me. Oh, wait a minute, I have it right here.
And you also have the Carter Commission, second line down.
Yeah.
It's a spelling.
That's,
This needs a good copy
It's a
edit, is what it
typo.
needs.
Charter.
Who's this guy Carter?
that was somebody else plugged that language in
Their
there.
name was Carter.
Town Carter.
Gonna-
And also, on the indentation at the bottom, the citizens of Newmarket are joining, it says, amendments to the charter are proposed to comply.
Yep, with state law.
Okay.
Yep.
Those are the only two things I picked up. I thought it looked pretty good.
The language that's kind of in that accented text there is language that Clay proposed. Clay,
Yep, it is.
so,
You want me to talk about it?
only if you want to.
I will. I'm looking forward to, and I don't mean in a positive way, I mean directionally. I'm looking forward toward the time when we have to communicate this with the voters. And I want to acknowledge the fact that we heard from everybody about these issues, and that while people may not see things that they think directly address these concerns, we made structural changes and tried to make changes that we thought would embody these concerns. Because, you know, I don't believe some of the comments that were directed at us that we do not have. In other words, I believe we do have the ability to look through these lenses toward the changes we make. We may not be enacting policy directly, but we can enact structural changes that can approach issues of accountability and providing community services with reasonable affordability, and also to try and structure a government that is accessible. And I think that we've, for the most part, done that. And I just think we should pay deference to the fact that we spent a lot of time hearing about that from our citizens and talking about it ourselves. And I threw that one sentence in there.
Yep. I think it's fine with me.
Okay, one line in there. I guess we have to assume the citizens of Newmarket are generally satisfied with how town government works.
That was part of our findings.
I mean, from the input we received,
Yeah.
we generally got people, there was no real, we need to change how to form a government right now.
That's what I felt.
You know, I always say, it's generally satisfied. You're always gonna find people who are unhappy. But
Based on what we get.
Winston Churchill said, representative democracy is the worst form of government ever devised except for all the others. I thought that was clever.
It's minor, but my name is yes, it is misspelled.
Yeah, how many times did I misspell your name?
Many different
Yeah,
ways.
2 hours?
Two Z's, one R. That's spelled right.
Oh, all right.
Okay, it's correct now.
All right.
These are just in alphabetical order. The names are in alphabetical order. I wanted to do it by height, but
Alphabetical by
I would
height.
put Phil on top.
That's the last thing anyone needs.
All right. So with those changes, I think both these documents, let's see, with that change, this document's ready to go. And Chris I just sent an email to you and John Radigan, just highlighting to him that you're going to be contacting him.
Yep.
You're going to send the revised charter to everyone and Attorney Radigan, and we will be able to get a draft together
Yeah.
for review at the 10/14 meeting. That's our next meeting currently, unless we have another, weekly meeting.
Don't we have
At
to
the
get
le-
stuff to him by next week?
Library. Oh,
Well,
that's a good point.
I'm gonna, if there are more changes to be made, we'll make them tonight. I'm making the changes in the live document as we speak now.
I think we're done. We already went over it. I asked if anybody had
So-
any other changes.
I'm gonna send this out at noon tomorrow.
Okay?
By noon tomorrow. If you don't have an email from me by noon tomorrow, call me, email me, because you should have it.
And I might have missed something. That's after talking to him about the.
Compensation
section.
issue.
Yeah, I'll try to get all of them first thing. Forget work, it's not that important.
You might want to put in Bruce Hawkins Senior so they don't blame my son.
Don't you want me to put junior?
No, senior. No, don't put you.
Don't you want to leave it ambiguous?
No.
No one's gonna blame anybody for anything except Clay.
I already do.
I blame everybody. Blame me? Yeah. Feel free to blame me. All right, so then we don't need to meet next week. Do we need to meet on the 14th?
I think so, because I think if we have
We
nothing
should, yeah.
substantive to talk about, which we may still, we need to talk about marketing
Yep.
this sucker.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so the 14th is our next scheduled meeting.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a email poll on whether we're good to go with shooting this off to John to have him submit it?
Well, he's going to submit it outside the formal process. Remember, he wanted to give it and say, hey, do you guys have any huge red flags that we need to address? And then, meanwhile, we're going to continue forward. Since we don't know if they have huge red flags, we just keep going on a regular schedule, and John will report back to us, hey, you guys, we have a big issue. Let's get together right away. We either meet regularly on the 28th or whatever, or call another meeting on the 21st.
The sooner we get it to John, he can get some preliminary feedback. We can address that on the 14th if he can get it.
Yeah. I mean, we may
We
even,
can go to the formal submission 2 weeks later, and if we have to meet in the meantime, between the 14th and the 31st, we can do that as well.
yeah, and then, you know, I don't see us having to meet bi-weekly, you know, every other week until we're ready to start. I mean, we might meet monthly until we get into the marketing. You know, we can talk about all that on the 14th.
Yeah,
And after we get it, we're gonna have to start getting something printed up for public discussion, right?
Do we want to hold, I mean, we should talk about all this, like our whole marketing plan, the
so that
rollout.
should be, the agenda for the next meeting should be.
That's all I'm going to put on the agenda, unless Attorney Radigan comes back.
Do we
with
take this
something.
thing to the council? Do we take this thing to the budget committee? Do we take this thing to the school board? Do we take it to the planning board? Do we take it to the CIP committee?
What's the IP committee? I'm just kidding.
Ask Leo. Do we take it to the people?
Well, they had a meeting.
Groups in town, do we take it to like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a meeting
Take it to the
tonight,
streets.
CIP
I think we should
meeting.
have a town crier. Read it on the corner.
One comment,
Yes?
the 14th is Columbus Day.
Mm.
I don't know
14th what?
if
Columbus
A,
Day.
town offices are open, and
Oh,
they
this
might
thing is
be.
out the 12th.
So-
But the observed
And I'm
date.
away.
And you're right, it is Columbus Day.
I moved it to Monday holiday.
We could do that, it's kind of like the Odyssey, we can just have a relay, people reading it out loud.
Like Homer? Homer's Odyssey, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
actually, that was sung, actually, rather than read, but
Yeah.
in Greek. So,
You have a lot of wind to sing that whole thing.
All right, so what are we still going to have a meeting on the 14th or not? That was Tony's question.
it's Columbus Day, I think town hall will be closed.
Yeah,
It'll be closed.
I would move it to either the 15th or the 21st.
Town holiday?
It is- Oh, yeah. I
So
probably
then we're skipping way out.
Yeah.
Well, look, see, notice that we have an extra week in here
Yeah, go to the 7th then.
because of the fact that because we meet on the 2nd and 4th. So 2 weeks from today is actually the 7th
That's when we should meet.
instead of the 14th. Why don't we just, is it possible that we could shift both meetings? Like move the 28th to the 21st and move the 14th to the 7th? For that month?
Well, why don't we leave it up to you, see what we've got together to go with them. How much information we've got back that we can go on to.
Okay.
You want, yeah,
If
if
we're
you,
gonna need a third meeting in the month, then we might wanna leave that last one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that may be a tough night.
I think the 7th makes sense, because then if the decision is made to take this to the council, you can try to do that on the 16th.
Okay, which gives us the 7th to talk about it.
The 7th to decide to do that, the 16th to go do it, the 21st to come back with feedback.
Okay. Okay, Ellen, did you get all that? So it looks like we're going to move our October meetings to the 7th,
Yep.
as well as the 21st.
Good, I'm away that week.
Okay.
Outstanding.
I will send an email right now to Steve and Kathleen and alert them to that. Is everybody comfortable with that? That helps you with your calendar as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Kathy. Steve.
John's back, stop
7th.
talking about it.
Isn't that the ZBA meeting, 7th?
Yeah, we'll probably have to be like
There's no
downstairs.
ZBA meeting scheduled.
Or we can go to the library, it doesn't matter.
Isn't it first and third Mondays?
ZBA?
No?
We only meet when required.
Oh.
There's no new applications that I'm aware of. We haven't met in
There's
a couple
nothing
months.
there,
So
okay.
we're gonna do a meeting October 7th.
Unless they're meeting without me.
October 21st now.
Which would be great.
October 7th.
Exactly.
And
It's Columbus Day.
Need to.
I am.
To October 7th and October 21st, with an option to have another meeting
Columbus Day, okay.
Sorry for the confusion. It's all Tony's fault.
Responsibility.
Do people think that the table of contents is
I love it.
a bad idea?
No, I think it's
great idea.
incredibly helpful.
It can be done as an index as well, if you prefer to have it at the end.
It'd be awesome if it hyperlinked to the different pages in the document.
Maybe Steve has people.
Have
to
Steve do that.
Steve should do that.
I guess they send it out to have it professionally printed and bound, and those people can take care of
Oh,
cleaning it. They're gonna clean up, do the final formatting and clean all that up.
Now, we have one set for the 28th. We're not meeting then, or?
I'm leaving that as an optional meeting
Okay.
in case we can't
Okay.
finish everything on the.
Okay.
I assume that we're going to be done on the 21st for sure.
First.
And we will need to meet solely for the purpose of marketing and then taking any comments back from the state.
And we have,
Isn't there any difficult work we can assign to Al?
Yeah.
we have,
Should I just, I'll include Al in this email. Al will be contacting you about something complicated.
we'll talk about the November meeting that we have scheduled also.
Yeah, I think as we get into October, we'll have a better idea of our marketing, and I think we'll either meet both days, a short meeting, and feedback on each other on the marketing and assigned tasks, and just move it down the line.
Okay.
Great.
That's the stuff that Kathy put together, that John asked her to. That's all the resolutions that relate to the CIP.
Asking me for an unprofessional opinion.
This ought to be, it's handy to have all that stuff in one place. Do we have anything else to discuss tonight?
I do not. I don't have anything.
Did you want to go back and do the minutes?
Yes, let's do the minutes. Thank you, Chris, for reminding me of that. September 16th, review the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second that, Mr. Chair.
Does anybody have any discussion? I have a motion and a second to accept these minutes. Anybody need a couple minutes to look at them? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for the minutes. You've done a fantastic job.
I don't think the 9th has been approved yet either.
Quite possible.
September 9th.
I do not have my copy of the night, unless I have it electronically. Does anybody, is anybody ready to approve the 9th?
Ready to abstain.
Ready to abstain.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the September 9th meeting as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Does anybody have any discussion on that?
I remember reading them, I didn't see any issues with it.
I didn't see anything significant.
Some of my favorite minutes.
They were? This was the one with continuation of discussion with town attorney and Steve Fournier. Looks typically stimulating. Decisions from process, revisions. We went over each article. A lot of open discussion. All right, anybody have any, we went over the minutes.
Is it correct that we had 3 additional public hearings?
Yes, it is.
Are we going to schedule another one? One of those October meetings? Or just throw it out there?
Traditionally, the first meeting is public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, we had more than,
We have way more. Does anybody have any changes to this September 9th? I don't. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No.
One abstention.
And one abstention, sorry. Commissioner Nazaro abstained.
You want it spelt right, that's how you have to say it.
Yeah, right. All right, hearing no other business before the commission, I will take a motion.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice.